Welcome back to JT
Hoops.
And today we're going through 10 different NBA players and we're going through if they're overrated, underrated or fairly rated. Let's get into it.
Exciting.
Should be good.
Okay. I'll start.
Make sure to leave your opinions in the comments.
Yeah.
Alright.
First player I was Malik Beasley.
Oh, okay.
You could lean him towards underrated.
I'm going underrated.
Okay.
I'm fully on the underrated side. Malik Beasley does not get talked about. Rarely gets talked about. He's a great shooter.
So efficient.
He's not gonna bring, he's not a star or anything.
Yeah.
But I think he's quite a good player off the bench.
Yeah.
For his shooting.
He's definitely a bench player. We saw he used to put up 20 points per game, and I think he won a Sixth Man of the Year at one point.
I don't think he'll ever get back to that, but off the bench, great shooting.
I think I'd like to see him on a different team, but the Bucks.
Yeah.
I think I would have him as fairly rated. If I was to lean more to overrated or underrated, I would say more underrated.
Yeah.
But I definitely think he's a key piece that could help on a championship roster. He is getting older, but he still makes such a big impact, and I really think that'd be good for him.
Alright, first player on my list, pretty relevant at the moment, but Jayson Tatum.
Okay.
Now
this is good.
Yeah, this is good.
The hate he got towards when they won the finals was crazy.
Yeah, he got so much hate. A lot of it I think was undeserved. That's why I'm going slightly underrated.
I would say the exact same thing.
He struggled shooting.
Yeah.
I get that, but he still led his team to the finals, to win the finals. He was robbed of finals MVP.
People can say they had an easy run, they did.
They did an easy run, but
you still gotta win those 4 series.
They don't win that championship without Jayson Tatum.
Yeah.
He played a big role. He dropped 30 in Game 5 to win the game.
I know he didn't win finals MVP, but he's still regular season.
I reckon.
He's still a star player. He's an impact player.
So he's a top 10 player in the league.
Yeah.
And the amount of hate, the amount of people talking down to him, he's not.
Yeah.
He's. But I understand how you can say struggles shooting, but
all he's doing is improving. As much he struggled in the playoffs in shooting, I saw his assist numbers go up. At least he's getting his playmaking up. He's just become such a good player for the regular season and in the playoffs in the future.
Yeah.
He's still developing. He's not here to stand. He's just
but he gets a lot of undeserved hate, and that's why I'm going with slightly underrated.
Okay. Brandon Ingram.
Oh, okay.
He is in a lot of trade talks lately.
Yes.
I'm gonna go and say he's overrated.
Wow. Okay.
You might think something else underrated. But I don't think he's just put up the numbers that he used to. I think he is definitely a player which is good to have on a bench maybe. I know that sounds weird, but I don't think he put up the numbers to show that he's a starting lineup caliber player. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna go different to you. I'm gonna go slightly underrated for one reason, and that's he's in a lot of trade talks, and people are just tossing him around in trades as if he's not that good. I did see this season he was not as good as I thought he would be or could be, but
you do look at the players.
The season before, even the play-in, I remember he dropped 30 points, had his first career triple-double, and it was looking good for him. And making a prediction, just myself, I said he would actually win Most Improved, and he'd be really good. He wasn't as good as I thought he would be, but he's still a quality player. He has one of the best mid-ranges in the game. So I think he could still really contribute to a contending team, whether that is the Pelicans or whether that is a team like the Cavs or something.
I definitely see him as a better player on a different team, but what I saw this season, he was overrated. So if I'm the Pelican, you look at the players around him, CJ, Zion, Jonas, they're players which are high scoring players too. So I think he could only get worse around him, stats wise, but I think if he moves teams, he could make.
He's got a lot to improve, but
Yep.
Alright, next one. We've got Anthony Edwards. Now, this is a big one. I'm going to go ahead and just say slightly overrated. But do not get me wrong. Anthony Edwards is a superstar, right? Is he top 10 in the league? He could be top 10 in the league.
He will be.
He will be top 10 in the league. I definitely think he's just so good scoring. He was unbelievable in the playoffs.
Yeah.
The only reason I have him slightly overrated is people they like to compare him to Michael Jordan and, put him in ridiculous talks like that.
I find that ridiculous too.
Yeah, that's why. That's the only reason I've got him overrated. Phenomenal player.
Yeah, phenomenal player. I definitely think he is going to be a top 10 player next year. As far as you could say top 5.
Yeah.
He's just such a good scorer. He had some games where he didn't shoot that well, but he was still putting up high numbers, high rebounds, high assists. So it was just good to see from him, and he's definitely improving heaps. And
so would you go?
I'll put him at fairly rated.
Yeah. All right.
I don't think you can call him underrated because of all the stuff you said.
The amount of
I would definitely lean more towards overrated because of the stuff you said, but I'd put him fairly rated for now.
Yeah.
Now, bit of a weird one, you could say. He's not a high-level player, but he's definitely an impactful one. Aaron Nesmith.
Oh, okay.
And on the Pacers run they had this year,
yeah.
He was consistent shooting, great defense, and he really stood out to them and was one of their top 5 players, which helped them get to that spot. You did go against the Celtics without Halliburton. So really hard to do, but he definitely stepped up and helped them in the games they needed him to.
I want to go ahead and say that Aaron Nesmith is one of the most underrated players in the league.
Yeah.
Defensively, he was huge for the Pacers. Massive reason why they made the conference finals. I mean, people are just, throwing that away like that's nothing. I mean, even they had a pretty easy run. I mean, injured Knicks, whatever. But even to make the conference finals, it's still pretty good. And Nesmith was a big part of that.
Yeah.
Guarding their other team's best defenders. I mean, best.
He prevented Tatum. As I said before, Tatum didn't have great shooting.
A big reason for that was Aaron Nesmith. Yeah.
He really prevented him, and it was Jaylen Brown that killed him that series. So, whoever he's on whoever he was guarding is what. They didn't do that well at all. So I think
phenomenal defender
is
really make an impact.
He's almost like a Lou Dort, just really
a
good defender.
For sure.
Yeah, holds space up.
I've got an interesting one. Jordan Poole. Now, there's a lot of there's been a lot of talk about Jordan Poole, whether he's overrated, whether he's washed, I'm going to go ahead and say that Jordan Poole is underrated. On the Warriors, as a 6-man, he was amazing, right? 20 points per game, almost 6-man of the year. Wait, did he win?
He was Herro did. Yeah, but that's tough competition.
Yeah. He got traded to the Wizards because he was not doing as well as he was on the Warriors, and a lot of people, including us, had so much expectations. We would say 25 points per game. In fantasy, we were picking him up, and he didn't live up to those expectations. But I don't think he's a number 1 option kind of a guy.
Yeah.
I think he's a really good player off the bench.
The Wizards were thinking. He's not going to come in and be a star player. For the Warriors, if you've seen, he's always going to be a 6-man, a great scorer.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
And even off the bench, he was so good for the Wizards. He can still score. I just think he failed because he was put in that position to be the number 1 scorer, and I just don't think he's that kind of a guy.
He was definitely overhyped to be that star player for the Wizards coming into the season. But.
Yeah, it is a bit unfair though, because he was a 6-man, and then you're suddenly put in a position where you're expected to be the number 1 guy. But I think people just hated on him, and just said, he wasn't.
We did see the fights he had with some of his old teammates in the Warriors, which is why he left. But they definitely showed that he's a 6-man. He definitely was overhyped to be that top scorer. Someone in our fantasy league took him 2nd pick. That was terrible.
But
he can definitely be.
Off the bench, he's shown he can put up numbers. He had a few 30-point games. Yeah, he can be. Yeah,
For
quite
me,
good off the bench.
underrated as well.
Yeah,
Definitely. So, is he on the move? I want him
Maybe.
to. Definitely.
Maybe.
He looks like a
As a six-man.
He looks like a contending team player as a 6-man.
Yeah.
So
sure.
maybe if
Just
he
like
goes
the Warriors.
to, like, Sixers.
That's exactly what he was in the
Yeah.
Warriors. You know, if you can find that again, then yeah.
He'd definitely be great for them. He was impactful in that finals run. Really beat the Celtics.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, Daniel Gafford. The
Alright.
key, the Mavs were really low halfway throughout the season, but when they rang PJ Washington in, him and Gafford and Lively were like the three duos, which were, the three players, which are
Yeah,
like
for sure.
key.
That saved their season.
Yeah.
And that's a big reason why they made the finals.
You look at the role players they have, and they're definitely the top level ones you see. They weren't as impactful in this finals to help Luka and Kyrie out, even though Kyrie wasn't that good. But I definitely think Gafford, he went 36 from field goals at one point in the season.
But the things they did, I mean, even against Minnesota, against OKC, the 1 seed, to make the finals, they did unbelievable.
Yeah.
With Daniel Gafford, it's tough. Maybe I'm gonna go fairly rated. I think
Okay.
he's good, and people acknowledge he's good. So
Yeah.
he's impactful.
Yeah.
For them.
Don't leave the Mavs. I know they have Lively as well, but that's a good combo, and
Yeah.
it's really worked. And one of the better role players in the league. So
Yeah.
I'd have him underrated too.
Alright. My next one, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Now, somehow, I think he is ever so slightly underrated. Only because the things he's doing is it's literally generational. It's like, putting up 30 points as consistently as he is. 9 in, 9 out. You look at the stats, 30 points. It's like, it's unbelievable. I mean, people have him, I don't know, about around 7th or 8th, top 10. But, I just think how rare that actually is. And for a guard that's come from, traded on draft night, not much expectation. So,
Was second in MVP.
But
also plays on a team like OKC, which are young and developing. To have him as the second for MVP, and they did face a tough matchup within the Mavs, which they lost quite convincingly. But you saw how the Mavs were good this year, and I think SGA was one of them.
I just think he should be in maybe top 5 player in the league.
Yeah.
Talks.
Definitely
Steph,
players which were better than him this year.
Yeah,
Defense elite.
even defense.
Yeah.
Defensively, one of the best guards that are around that top 10.
Sure.
Better than
Steals
Luka and
wise,
better than Steph. So.
efficiency wise. Yep, I agree. Okay, my final player is Tyler Herro.
Alright, I'm gonna go underrated.
I'm gonna go. This was a tough one coming in to it. I'm gonna go slightly overrated.
Wow. Okay.
I think what the role he is playing right now is a starting lineup player for the Heat, which is putting up 20 points per game. I do think he is a 6-man.
Yeah.
I don't
Just
think
like Jordan Poole.
Better, but still a 6-man player.
Yeah.
He
can put up numbers though. He was for a stretch in the season. I remember he was talked about as the Heat's best player, their best scorer at least. His shooting's really good.
He's a player which I think the Heat need to move, especially if they're trying to win now and it's their final chances. I think he's definitely a player they have to move to go get an older veteran which can help them. Maybe send Herro to a contending team for a 6-man or a younger team for him to start, but I don't think that's what he should do. I think his role is a 6-man, and that's why I'd have him slightly overrated.
Yeah. Alright. And my final one, Desmond Bane. Now, in last week's podcast, I said he was underrated. I reckon Desmond Bane, he often gets, forgot about. I think he's up there with one of the most underrated players for me. I just think, he can consistently put up 20 points per game. Great shooter. And he can, I said the Grizzlies could be a top 5 or will be a top 5 team next season. And, third they were the 3rd seed. The Grizzlies were the 3rd seed 2 seasons ago. He was a massive part. Putting up consistently.
Yeah.
He can definitely have 30-point games.
This is a big turn. It might shake things up. I'm going to go he's overrated. Quite convincingly. I think what you saw is the Grizzlies, plenty of injuries this year, like not many great players, had to sign players like Trey Jemison, Scottie Pippen, like players you don't even know in the end. And I think Bane, he just stood out. I think he did put up like 20-point games and stuff, but with all their players back, he is like, as we saw like years before that, he's okay. He's not like great, like putting up those consistent numbers every night.
I'm not saying he's a star.
Yeah,
I'm just saying he's a really, really good player to come and give you consistently 20 points.
Yeah.
Alright.
Definitely. Well, that's how I would have it overrated. Maybe wouldn't move him though on the Grizzlies, just maybe bench or just settle it. He's not going to be that like high scoring player. He's just going to be.
Alright, well that was 10 players. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Who would you have? Would you have Desmond Bane underrated or overrated? Let us know. We respond to every single comment.
Yeah.
Subscribe for more podcasts, weekly podcasts.
We'll reply to every comment.
Yeah.
So
thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.